theyeshiva.net.
Okay, we're Yud Beis, Amud Beis, Yud Beis, column 2, page 23. On top it says Tzav. So the point that we're learning about is that there are, to use the language of the Maamer, that there are two pchinis in the Gili of Ein Sof Baruch Hu. Meaning, there's two different aspects, two different dimensions in the way Ein Sof, in the way the light of the infinity is communicated. One is something we call Ishtalshalus, or Ila Va'alul, and one is called L'mayla min Ishtalshalus. One is called Yesh Yesh, and one is called Yesh Ayin. Generally, one is connected to what's called Moichin de Abba, beyond Ishtalshalus, and Moichin de Ima, which is Ishtalshalus. One is primarily connected to Yom Tov, the other is primarily connected to Shabbos. Shabbos is called Kodesh, Yom Tov is called Mikra Kodesh. Yom Tov, the main mitzvah, is Simcha. Shabbos, Simcha is subsumed in the Oineg. Yom Tov is the pchin of Nahar, Ben Nahar Yavru Beregel, Sham Nismecha Bay. Shabbos is the union of Ayin. Nahar Yotzim Ayin. Ayin is beyond the Nahar. Nahar is Bina, and the Nahar comes from the Ayin, Lahashkas Sagan. Ayin represents Chachma. And Ayin is the Rosh Tevis, as he says. Ayin Dalad Nun is Oineg is Rosh Tevis, Ayin, and Nahar and Gan. Because Oineg begins with Ayin, which then goes into the Nar and the Gan. So those are all the oises that are used. In Moichin de Ima, which is Yesh Yesh, Ila Va'alul, Hishtalshalus. Over there he says there's Hasaga, there's Tfisa, there's Havana, there's Hana. It's the Gili of Gan Eden, Nenin Miziv HaShchina, Nenin Miziv HaShchina. It's the Gili of Olam Haba. It's me'afela loyer gadol, me'shibud le'geula, me'eva le'yagan. It's gilui tainag hanashamas. It's also called bina. It's called olam haba. All in the words. It's all included in the general words moichin de'ima. And then there's the oineg of Shabbos, which is Ayin, which is higher than Nar. And that was the question of the Jewish people in the desert, in the Midbar. Hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu im Ayin. If our relationship with Hashem is one of Yesh Hashem, Hashem Kevayachal, the way the Ein Sof assumes the identity of a Yesh, which is generally already the sphere of Bina, where Bina is more tangible and concrete. Even when you're talking about the Ein Sof, it's the way the Ein Sof is manifested in something that's more tangible. And there could ultimately be some type of tfisa, again I say some type of tfisa, some type of hasaga, some type of comprehension. It could be bikirbeinu, inside of me, inside of us. I can wrap my brain around it, my soul around it, my identity around it. It's something I can grasp, I can appreciate, which is always what simcha is. When the olul could return to its ilah and appreciate its ilah, understand it, comprehend it. Hayesh Hashem bikirbeinu. That's where the simcha comes from. When there's, instead of the distance and the separation, you realign yourself with your true destiny, your true calling, your true core, your true vision, your true potential. The separation causes anguish, causes a void, and the unity causes simcha. That's Hayesh Hashem bikirbeinu. Hasaga, when I comprehend it, means I reached it. I have something of it. Even though, of course, in Hasaga itself, there's levels and levels. But even a small level of Hasaga is some type of ownership of it. You have it. You have it in your mind, you have it in your heart, you have it in your soul. Im, or it's Ayin. It's a whole different Inyan, Ayin. And Ayin, he says, the Keli for Ayin is not Hasaga Fakert, it's Bittul Hasaga. It's the end of Hasaga, it's the end of Tfisa. It's not something I can grasp through Mitzias. Because Mitzias can't grasp that which is beyond Mitzias. And it's not pshat, my Mitzias is not developed enough. No, even the most developed, spiritual, sublime Metzius, if it's Metzius, Metzius means identity. We're not talking about a coarse identity, we're talking about spiritual identity. Bin is not coarse, bin is in Atzilus is Alikus, Ema Bonim Smecha. But nonetheless, Leis Machshavet Tfisabe. Metzius can't grasp not Metzius. Metzius, identity, can't grasp Ayin. There's only one way, and that is when there's no I. Leis Machshavet Tfisabe. Not because the Machshava is not deep enough, or not smart enough, or not spiritual enough, or not wide. No, that's not the problem. The problem is Leis Machshava, because it's a Machshava. In other words, any thought process, any identity is already a stira. It's a contradiction to the Ayin, which is be'etzem, something that's not musik. It's beyond the realm of bin, it's beyond the realm of asag. It's the Ein Sof, the way it's beyond hishtalshlus. It's not called an ilah. An ilah means it's already a yesh, which is going to produce another one, and another one, another one. That's the way you define Hashem. They call it in the works of Jewish philosophy, and other the primal, the unmoved mover, the primal mover. In other words, the one who triggered the mucker of everything. Ilas, the lashonis of the Jewish philosophers, is Ilas kala Eloi, Sibas kala Sibas, the cause of all causes. You know, the first seed that ultimately has within it the whole. The Ramban speaks about the Chaimer Hiyuli, the first matter, that's intangible matter, Bereshis Bara, that he was Monsey, Yesh, from which everything comes. So that's even on a physical level. Today's what the Ramban describes is very similar in description to the Big Bang. Very similar. The Ramban says that he was Monsey, a little Nekuda, and from there everything expanded and the whole cosmos developed. As the Ramban wrote in the 1200s, it's a Chiddush. I should say, just in parentheses, for many years, for thousands of years, the debate between Judaism and other shittas, like Greek philosophy, was that Aristotle and other great Greek philosophers held that the world was a kadmon. A kadmon means the world always existed. Where did the world come from? Something has to come from somewhere. Ein davar eisesatz, where something can't create itself. The Chovos HaLevavos says, his famous big argument is that when something is created, the question is, that something that was created, was it there before it was created or not? If it wasn't there before it was created, so how did it create itself? Somebody had to create it, because if it wasn't there before it was created, there was nothing there to create itself. Elamaya was there before it was created, right? So then it didn't have to create itself. It was there before it was created. So the question is how it originally came into being. In other words, when something is here, something new is here, the question is, how did it come here? If it came here by itself, so then it had to be here before. If it didn't come here by itself, it came here by somebody else, so you have to identify that. So they always understood the world was always here. And it's only literally in the last 50, 60 years that the common convention in secular discipline, secular science, cosmology, physics is that there was a beginning. Almost kula alma Maamer sham, it's a gevaldik inyan, that everyone is minded that the world has a beginning. They call it the Big Bang. The question is, how did the Big Bang come about? They'll say, we don't know yet. It's not our job to figure it out. We can't figure it out. It's not our business. You can't jump from there to religion. But it's a gevaldik inyan that, Hawkins, yeah. But it has a beginning. The Big Bang means there was some prebiotic soup or cholent that exploded into a Big Bang. That means... Yeah, but you also have to ask the question. 15.3 billion years, there was an explosion. What happened 15.3 billion years ago? There was tremendous pressure, so it can't explode. No, why didn't it happen 30 billion years ago, the pressure? Yeah. So, but the fact is that there's a beginning. This is a mashal. So that first beginning, that Chaimer Hiyuli, that condensed, crazily tiny condensed matter with all the mass and density and pressure that exploded and expanded, and somehow from all the pitzutzim and ptsatzot and explosions, great things happened. Galaxies formed and the cosmos formed, and here we are today, and that everything formed, every single nivra formed. Okay, it took some time according to them, took a nice amount of time. But that beginning is everything. That beginning has everything. That's the first Yesh. That's a mashal in Gashmi, for the way it's in Ruchni also, that Ilah va'olol, if you're not talking about a Yesh in Gashmi, a Yesh in Ruchni, that Yesh has everything in it. B'meila, from that Yesh, you can develop others and others and others, and the ultimate Yesh can have some tfisa in the first. That's all if you're talking on the level of Yesh mi Yesh, Ilah va'olol. When you're talking on the level of Moichin the Abba here, it's beyond the Shtalshalus. It's Ayin. Ayin means it's not musik. It's not comprehensible. Leis machshava tfis. Again, not because the machshava is a low machshava. Problem is not the chisorin of the machshava. The problem is the maila of the machshava. The problem here is not anymore that you're too low. The problem is even if you're too high, even if you're high, that the word ila doesn't apply anymore. The word maila and mata doesn't apply. It's not there's mata and there's maila. That's what he says, the difference between the first thing in there's maila and there's mata. In Moichin the Abba, there's no maila and mata. Maila and mata become identical. Like he says, Gam choshech lo yachshech mimeka. Not just the choshech doesn't block you because nothing blocks you, you're infinite. But kachashecha ka'ira. The Ohr is not more Ohr than choshech. The Ohr is just like the choshech. The choshech is just like the Ohr. Why? Because even the greatest Ohr, the greatest light, the greatest revelation that you can have a tfisa in, it's all things that is shayach ayin of hasaga. Because it's shayach hasaga, so therefore the higher a person is, the more hasaga, the more sensitivity. Mashenka, when you're dealing with Moichin da, but here it's an inyan of ayin. Because it's an inyan of ayin, so he says the way to access this is through not hasaga, through the ayin, through the bittul of hasaga, through the bittul of mitzias, leis machshava, and that's why the Yerushalmi says that bekushi yitidul adabah divrei Torah b'Shabbos. Because even Torah, the way we access it is Eiraisa mechachma nafkas, comes out of chachma. The Medrash says novelus chachma shalamaylas Torah. So bekushi yitidul adabah divrei Torah b'Shabbos. It was a difficulty because Shabbos represents Moichin the Abba chachma, which is the gilui of this ayin, and the keli for that is the bittul of mitzias, not mitzias, but the cessation, the nullification of mitzias in the ayin. This distinction is a critical distinction between when you talk about there's maila and mata, and then you talk about that there's no maila and mata are shavim. The highest and the lowest become completely identical. As he puts it in the pasuk, kachashecha ka'ira, not chashecha ka'ira. Not that I can reach the darkness too. Kachashecha ka'ira, it's like the same. Like darkness is light, like light is darkness. In other words, the darkness is exactly like the light. Why? Because the choshech is shavuler, because the Ohr is shavuler choshech. As he quotes from the Zohar, that Keser Elyon is Ohr Tzachum Tzuchtzach. It's pure Ohr, but it's Ukamhu. It's considered choshech, legabe the ultimate truth. Even the greatest Ohr is considered choshech. You can have a tfisa through not having a tfisa. You want to know what that means?
That's the non-actual stuff.
Why is the Alter Rebbe meidich in it so much? So it's not pshat. When you say it's inaccessible through Yesh. It's accessible through Bittul. It's inaccessible through Yesh. Through Ayin it is accessible.
You're not speaking about Derech Shlila?
No. This is deeper than Derech Shlila.
So it means there is a Yesh there.
No.
Just make it possible. You need to get it by...
There's a vort. It's in a different mahalach, but it's I think maybe a good marshal. There was a Yid Reb Hillel Paritcher. He was the Rav of Paritch, city in Ukraine. He was a very big gon. He was a chassid of the Chernobyl Magid. First Reb Nachum Chernobyl, and I think Reb Motla Chernobyl. And then he came to the Balatanya. He never saw him, but he heard him. It's a whole Monsey. He never saw him, he heard him. And then he went to his son, the Mittler Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek. In Chabad, he was considered from the greatest chassidim. And he was also a gon oilam. He wrote a lot of svarim also. Pelach Harimin and other svarim. So they once asked Reb Hillel how he would define his Rebbe. He had a Rebbe, Reb Zalman Zezmer. Reb Zalman Zezmer was a great mind, a great man, and he was considered from the great Talmidim of the Balatanya. There's no Reb Zalman Zezmer. So they once asked Reb Hillel how he would describe this Rebbe Reb Zalman Zezmer. He brought him to the Alter Rebbe, to Chassidus, to the whole shit, to the derech of the Balatanya. So the Hillel says, pretty sharp, he says, Ich verstehe in Reb Zalman, Punkt azoi, wie de Katz versteht in mir, und a sach weniger. Which means, my understanding of my Rebbe Reb Zalman is as much as the cat, there was a cat there in the yard, understands me, and really less. The cat understands me better than I understand Reb Zalman Zezmer. That's what the Hillel Parach said. V'ya chassid ret. So they asked Reb Hillel, Azoi, and how would you describe yourself and Reb Zalman Zezmer l'gabe the Alter Rebbe, l'gabe the Balatanya? So he says, without skipping a beat, he says, l'gabe dem Rebbe, is Reb Zalman, und ich, und the Katz, als Beshava. L'gabe the Alter Rebbe, Reb Zalman, me and the cat are identical. That's what he said. Me l'gabe Reb Zalman, yeah? It's like the cat understands me, I understand him, and actually the cat understands better. No, so maybe it's not a story to analyze and dissect, avart, but I want to analyze what he said. So he asked him, what's your opinion on the Alter Rebbe? So now he should have gone one step further and said, and Reb Zalman understands in the Balatanya, wie the Katz versteht in mir, und wie ich verstehe in Reb Zalman, and a little more, and even more, even less than the cat understands me and I understand Reb Zalman. Fine. That's what he should, yeah, just continue this conversation. That's not what he said. He said something much deeper. He said, L'gabe dem Rebbe, Reb Zalman, und mir and the Katz, seinen Beshava. It's the same thing. What do I mean? What does this mean? So now just to use this as an idea, because it's I think this is the idea that the Balatanya is saying here in the Maamer. If you would ask Reb Hillel Parach, who understands in Reb Zalman Zezmer more, you or the cat? Of course, him. He's a person. Agon, a Talmud Chacham, a person, right? Elamai, he's so far beyond me, yeah, that as much as cats also understand people a little bit. They know what the master wants, what he doesn't want, right? Especially, animals have something. Some of them are pretty brilliant. But what he's trying to say is, it's completely not bad. How much does a cat understand you? According to the brains of the cat, it has its little asog, little tiny asog. Do I understand? But who understands more in the Zalman, me or the cat? Not me. It's not a joke. He was trying to say that it's so far away. Yeah. You'll take a 3-year-old kid, and you'll put him in the class of a gon agoin. He'll understand something. Yeah, something. maybe, yeah, maybe. A psavart. But how much? How much percent? How much fraction? A tiny little percent. The Gemara has a lashon, right? That Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Akiva was saying about his Rebbe, yeah, that I wasn't even teufus from him, yeah, he says that a kelev who licks from the sea, the little drops, that's how much I was teufus, even less than that. In other words, what he's trying to say is, you have an Atlantic Ocean, and you get a cup of water, you got something. But who got more? Avad Reb Hillel, Lehavin, was teufus much more. He was just trying to say how far it is. So let's understand. Somebody is worth $10 billion. Mit Hashem auf euch gesagt. Oh, starke Amen. Not beautiful. Great way to start off the week. Okay.
A lot of mitzvahs.
Yeah, warte. Mahal mich nicht bada. Okay. So now I ask you a question. There are people in the world who are worth 10 billion, there are people in the world who are worth 20 billion, and there are the princes of Saudi Arabia who are worth $360 billion. Fine. There's people who are worth $5 million. Yeah. It's a dava pashut, $5 million is not $360 billion. We all know that. but it's closer to 360 billion than the guy who has in his bank account $58.42. That's Pashut. So it's not the Katz, it's not the Hillel, Lehavin, it's not the Zalman. I'm talking in Seichel, in Ruchel, I'm talking in dollars. The Hillel had garnish, the Zalman had garnish, but I'm talking about in Seichel. So you have the guy who has $48 in the bank. You have the guy who has $10 million in the bank. You guy who has $360 million in all the banks. Yeah. We all understand. Yeah. Person will say, my $1 million, Lagabe, his $300 billion. It's a joke. What is it? How much percent is it? Save the cuts. A Philovenik. In other words, the ratio between 1 and 1 million, right, is much closer than the ratio between 1 million and 360 billion. That's what the Hillel is saying. It's a beautiful word. I want you to understand who my Rebbe was. A completely different league. That the cats understands me more than I understand. So now he should have said, and the Balatanya is 100 billion. No, now he said something else. He said, Legabe de Rebbe Zalman, who I just said, the Chveis was. Rebbe Zalman, Umir, and the cats is Beshove. What's that? This is not anymore 100 billion, 200 billion, 300 billion. 300 billion is made up of ones. Vaharaya, you have a guy who's a millionaire, you steal $5, Avet Meshigi takes you to court for 20 years. Why? Because Gvirim know, but Amalai don't know, but Gvirim know that every dollar counts. There was a Yid I knew from Montreal, his name was Moshe Rubin. He was a Chassidish Yid, so he used to say, Al tiftechu b'nedivim. Don't trust benefactors. B'ven adam she'ein loy seshua. Somebody who got nothing, he'll help you. B'ven adam she'ein loy seshua. So you have an Inyan, you're worth more, you're worth more, you're worth more. Let's do this in Ruchnius. There's 1, and there's 1 million, and there's 100 million, and there's 100 billion, 360 billion. From Asiya to Yitzida to Bria, and it's even more than in money, because money is limited for it. And here you're dealing with Ein Sof. What Reb Hillel was saying something much deeper. That there's a nekuda that Reb Zalman and me and the cat are all identical. How can that be? What do you mean you're identical? 1 and 1 million and 1 billion? The answer is, let's say we don't have it in physicality, but if there's a concept of unlimited,
When you go in an airport,
huh?
Still limited.
But there's still a chiluk between the Manhattan skyline and a car on the highway. He's saying when you're high enough. When you're high enough. That's the vart that Legabi infinity, real infinity, so the 100 and the million and the billion are identical. You're not getting any closer to it. By getting another $100 billion, you're not getting any closer to your destiny, because your destiny is not one that's defined anymore by Maila and Mata. So you get more and more and more. You're not even getting closer 1%. You're not getting a fraction of it. Why? Because you're dealing with something that's completely unlimited. So Legabe, that source, 1 and 1 million and 1 billion, it's mamash identical. They are equal. They are all equally far. They are all equally distant, including 0. Equally 0. 1 second before attainable, not attainable. Yeah. What does this mean? You have in Yanim in Elakus. The more you develop yourself, the more edel you become, the more you become a keli for it. The richer person can buy more things. I'm using the mashal of money. I don't want to cheapen it. But the more somebody is wealthy, the Gemara says, "Ein ani ela b'deya, ein asher ela b'deya." Poverty and wealth are not just about money; they're about mindsets, right? We know that people who are rich, but they're miserably poor. And there are people who are poor, unfortunately, but they're rich. Not that it's easy, everybody should have a lot of money, but the mindset is always a critical component. So there's wealth and poverty in the mindset. So in the mindset of the rich person, I have more money, I can buy more things. Spiritually speaking, wealth sensitivity, spirituality allows you to climb a ladder and experience higher reality, deeper reality, which you couldn't yesterday. And that's the climb of life. We speak about madregas, aliyas, shleimus. It's the climb of life, milmata lamaila. Deeper, higher. This climb is the climb from the alul to the ilah, from the chicken to the eagle, from finite to greater, from the lower yesh to the higher yesh, until the source, the ilah. But in this place, there's a big difference between choshech and ohr. A huge difference. You can't compare. And even when you come to a place of gam choshech layachshik mimeka, v'layla kayom yair, what it means is that I can reach and I can lift up and I can sublimate and I can inspire even in a place of choshech. But then there's the bchina of moichin da abba. What's moichin da abba here? Legabe moichin da abba is mir. On the katz is b'shava mamash. Say, what do you mean? How could you say this? How could you speak like this? The answer is because your chisaron is not what you don't have. Chisaron is what you have. And that's the nekuda. You have a great chacham, a genius of a man, a genius. Einstein, 100 years ago, theorized that there's black holes in the universe, but he didn't believe it because it was too crazy. Yeah? Last Wednesday, 100 years later, they authenticated Einstein's general theory of relativity from 1915. They authenticated, they chapped a picture from a black hole, the shadow of a black hole. You can't chap a picture of a black hole because it's black. But they chapped a picture of it. The picture comes from 55 million light years away. You know what a light year is? A light year is not our years, Tov Test, Tov Ches. A light year, you're traveling 186,000 miles per second. Now, 60 times of that is a minute. Right? 60 minutes of that, 186,000 miles. Isaac the Hurst is an hour. Now, days, months, years, 55 million light years. That's how far it was. They chapped a picture of it through 8 telescopes that together could take a picture of a bagel on the moon. Imagine there's a piece of matzah on the moon. It's a telescope that could take a picture of a piece of matzah on the moon. Half of a fella. Imagine. Yeah? Somebody described it. I'm sitting in here. There's a newspaper in Paris. And with these telescopes, I can read the newspaper. That's the telescopes they built. The telescopes, the 8 of them around the whole earth, and they chapped this picture. They had to work simultaneously together because 55 million light years. Now, never mind, the black hole is 25 billion miles wide. But it's 55 million light years away. So they chapped the picture. Einstein's theory was authenticated. Why am I saying this? So just this past Wednesday, I think they publicized the pictures. So I was talking about this to one of my children. So he says, L'may nafka mina. So they have a picture of a black hole. L'may nafka mina, who cares? What's the relevance? Einstein, it's not for this shiur, but Einstein reached it through his understanding of time and space and gravity, so he was mishayir that these things have to exist, but he didn't believe it because it was too crazy. It's not a normal existence. So by him it was still speculation. Mathematically it worked. But they rejected it. Over the years, they started to see different symptoms that can only be explained through the black hole. For example, they saw places that the stars are going meshugana speed around something, but they couldn't see anything. Something is pulling it. Usually you need something to do gravity, to pull it, and they didn't see anything. So they were meshayah that this is another heichacha. By the way, you see from here that much of science is not based on something you see. For 100 years, black holes was a common word. Nobody ever saw it. Nobody can prove it. But because they saw the symptoms, they went back and they said you can only justify these symptoms if there's a black hole. For 100 years it worked that way, and this is pure science. Today they said, you see the reality, right? People argue, show me God, and then I'll believe. Show me God. Much of science, it's when you see symptoms, when you see reactions, you can understand, you have to look what's causing it. I'll call upon him. So What's the nakuda of the black hole? That there's so much mass and density, the power of gravity there is crazy. It's mind-staggering, which was Einstein's idea. And the gravity is so powerful that anything is pulled, anything that exists there is pulled and drawn by the force of gravity, and the gravity does not allow anything to leave its magnetic draw, including light. Usually light escapes. Light is hispashtus. Light projects. Every object emits light. But in the black hole, because the gravitational force so infinitely powerful, so therefore doesn't even allow the light to escape. So what is it? It's a black hole. When you look at it, all you see blackness, not because there's no light there, because all the light is there. Usually in most objects, the light expands, the light leaves, the light diffracts. And here the light is completely absorbed and drawn in, so you can't take a picture of it. Because even now they have around the black hole, because over there's light. From the heat and the friction, there's some light. There's a beautiful halo. You saw the picture. It's quite a picture. Not there has to be. There's more light than anywhere else. All the light is there. All the light stays. All the light stays. And then there's something called an event horizon. Event horizon means, it's like if you draw a line around the black hole, that if you cross that line, there's no return. As long as you don't cross that line, you can enjoy it. Once you cross that line, the gravity pulls you in, and that's it. There's no return. They call it the end horizon. So the picture wasn't of the black hole, the picture, because you can't see a black hole. All you see is blackness but you see the light around something very black. What happens inside the black hole? That you can only theorize. So there's a lot of theories. Stephen Hawking, who died recently, spent much of his career trying to analyze and figure out black holes. So now the question is, where's the greatest light? The greatest light is in black holes. Why is the greatest light in black holes? There's so much light there. That's why it's black. Because the gravity doesn't allow the light to extend, to go out. The light remains completely inside. So what seems like the ultimate blackness and the ultimate darkness is actually has the most light. This is a mashal. You understand why I'm saying this? For Moichin the Abba. Moichin the Abba is Ayin. Why is it Ayin? Not because there's nothing there, because everything is there. In the black hole, you have more than anywhere else. You have more density, you have more mass, more energy, more light than anywhere else in the world. Because it's so powerful, it's so much, nothing escapes. And once somebody goes there, there's no going back.
How's the gravity?
Huh? Well, they theorize that it comes from stars, huge stars that exploded, and all the matter and density got contracted into the small point, Lefiyerech, and that's what creates the gravity.
Does it mean puncture time and space? They don't understand gravity today.
It's still all together theories.
The darkness and the light, really, though, it's all what's in the black hole. We have that right here also, the same.
Oh, so I'm giving a mashal. I can't, in the black hole, I can't sit and have hana from it. You understand? If I want to have hana from it, I can stand on earth, take pictures, and enjoy it and analyze it. Because real ayin has everything. It's just not musig. What do you mean it's not musig? I can't grasp it through metzius. You have a great chacham, a genius. Einstein's theories, I said, were vindicated. He was a genius. You have a smaller chacham, a student, who understands 50% of his Torahs. You have a smaller chacham, understands 10%. And you have a chacham who understands 1%. So you'll say he understands in him like the cat understands in him, and he understands in him like the cat understands in him, and so forth. What's the chisaron in the smallest chacham? The chisaron in the smallest chacham is not what he has, it's what he doesn't have. The fact that he has 1% of Chachma, that's the Maila, that's the good thing. That's what allows him to understand something. The Chisaron, what's the difference between him and the greatest Chacham? The answer is in what he doesn't have. In the lack of Chachma, in the lack of intelligence. In the intelligence that he does have, in that he's similar. It's just he has 1%, he has 10%, he has 50%, he has 100%. The Chisaron is in what he doesn't have, not in what he has. That's all if you're dealing with intelligence relative to each other. When you're dealing with Ayin, when you're dealing with Moich and Abba, the Chesaron is not what you don't have. The Chesaron is what you do have. Your Ruchnius becomes the Chesaron. Your Ohr becomes the Chesaron. Why? Because the Maila is the problem. In Maila and Mata, the problem is that the Mata doesn't have enough of the Maila. The higher you get, the closer you get to the Maila. Right? So, you say Chashecha could be Ka'ira. He is saying Chashecha Ka'ira. The Ohr is just like the Chashech. The Chisaron of the Ohr is not what it doesn't have, it's what it does have.
Intelligence is measured in IQ. It's a number.
Yeah, so to speak. Yeah. That's what Reb Hillel meant. Reb Hillel meant is a Metzias where me and the cat and Abzalman and Abishava. How could you say such a thing? What do you mean we're identical? Why are we identical? We're not identical. What's it mean we're identical? So this is such a pnimi is the ke'edel of art to understand what bittul means. We're not used to it. We're always used to you go higher. No. You can go to the hechsta. The problem is not going higher. Problem is you are higher. In many ways, the higher you are, the more problematic it becomes. But the kannst dich einreden. The cat doesn't deceive himself. Yeah, when you go higher, I know so much, and you taka know so much. But legabi the tachlis ha'emes, it's just not I understand a little more. Yeah, the distance is greater. That's a much simpler art. But I'm far closer. I'm taka as far from him as the cat is from me, and maybe further. But I'm far closer than the cat. The cat is down there, I'm up there, you're up there. I'm very far, I'm further from you than the cat is from me. But I'm closer than the cat. Das yeah. So the Hillel says, nah, verstehst du? That's not what we're talking about. Even your Maila is a Chisaron. Not your Chisaron is a Chisaron. What you're calling a Maila, yeah? Ila, Maila. He says, no, Maila matashavin. The Maila is not getting you anywhere. Fakert can only make you delusional. That's what the Bilapadic said. Was Akstavda? You hear how a chassid describes? They say that at a chasana, there was a batchen. There was a wedding of the Alter Rebbe, the Balatanya's a grandchild, so there was a batchen. He was a famous batchen, but he was embarrassed to do batchanas in front of the Balatanya, so he took a little lechayim, and he opened his mouth and he says to the Balatanya, he says, I thought about it for a long time, and I decided that there's no big difference between you and me. We're more or less the same. And he said, Azai, was ich weiß, weißt ihr euch. Was ihr weiß nicht, weiß ich euch nicht. Elamai said, da, ein paar Sachen, was ihr weißt und ich weiß nicht. Nur was ist der Chilik? Which means, what I know, you also know. Okay, good, so we're equal. What you don't know, I also don't know. So we're right to equal. So what's the difference? There's a couple of things that you know and I don't know. And then he said, and then he added and he said, and those things that you know and I don't know, was hat erich haben sie, legabi was ihr weiß nicht, und ich weiß euch nicht. And those things that you do know and I don't know, what type of value does that have, legabi, what you don't know, which I of course also don't know. And v'zolgu ein of the moyes. And the Alter Rebbe started to cry. A few tears came down when he said that. And was ihr weiß nicht, what you know, what type of erech does it have, like, what you don't know? So he says, so more or less, we're equal. But it's a vort, right? Similar, in some way similar to the Bhila. So that's what the Balatanya says here. that Moichin the Abba, which is the Gili Lamaila Me'asaga, there's no Maila Mata Shavin, and Kachashecha Koira. Kachashecha Koira means not only that the Choshech could grow, there's no place lost. It means that the Ohr is like Choshech. More Ohr doesn't bring you any closer. The Ohr is like Choshech. So in the real Ein Sof, you speak about gadlus, greatness, shleimus, madregas, Ohr. It's a black hole. Your Ohr is not getting me anywhere. The problem is not that there's not enough Ohr. The problem is that there is Ohr. What do you mean? Ohr is the best thing. Lichtigkeit. But it's Metzias. It's Maila. It's the highest Yesh. It's the highest Ohr. So it's a very interesting thing. When you're in the realm of Ila and Alul, the Tachlis is there. And you speak about it in tremendous gadlus. When you speak about it from the perspective of Moichin the Abba, that which Legabi something else is the ultimate. From the other perspective, from Ein Sof, it's mamash like Choshech. So back to the theory of relativity. From the world of Ila v'Alul, this is the highest place. You look at it and you say, wow, the ultimate greatness, the ultimate perfection, the ultimate heights. You've reached the ultimate heights. And it's true. In that world, you reached the ultimate light. You went deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. It's also Ein Sof. But in that world, you reach the ultimate or close to the ultimate, or you're getting closer and closer, and every day you're getting closer. But then when you look at it from a different point of view, from the point of view of Moichin the Abba, from the Gili of Ein Sof L'mayla Mishtalshalas, so the highest Ohr and the lowest Choshech are B'shava Mamash. And the greatest Ohr didn't bring you any closer to that. That's why he adds, Kachashecha ka'oira, not Chashecha ka'oira. Kachashecha, in other words, it's Mamash B'shava. Mir and the Katz, and the B'zalman is El B'zach. What do you mean, a Katz? A Katz, a Behema Gasa. It's a Behema Gasa, a Behema Daka. A Chosel, a Chaya, actually. What do you mean? There's that Pchina with the Behema. And the Gon Oilam are identical. Well, how could you speak like this? So in the world of Ilavol, you'll never speak like this. How could you? You don't speak like that, and it's not true. But that's in the world of Moichin the Ima. In the world of Moichin the Abba, of Ayin, of Bittel, so then the highest Hasaga, the highest Nekud of Ruchnius is Kachashecha Mamash. Not because of what he doesn't have, because of what he has. His problem is not his grobkeit, his problem is his ruchnius. Not his problem. The Hagbala is the ruchnius, not the gashmius. Teufus. L'mayn afkamina in avoida. Ah?
That's my question.
Yeah, that's true. The end of Koheles. Soiv davar hakal nishmas the chelakim yiravas mitzvahs of shmarki zekal adam. Thank you for bringing us back from black holes to reality. For it, we're living on Earth, yeah? They said that there was a Jew, there was a scientist speaking about the end of the universe. So there was an Alta Yid there, and this man got up and he said, according to our understandings and explorations, in 4 billion years, yeah, this universe will cease to exist. And this old Jew started to get heart palpitations. He said, and he's screaming and he's hollering. They want to call Hatzali, he's expiring. So the physicist turns to him and says, why are you so afraid? I mean, it's 4 billion years. He says, I thought you said 4 million. Okay, Baruch Hashem, it's 4 billion. So, there's 2 nekudas. One is about Klal Yisrael, and one is about every individual. The nekuda in Klal Yisrael, I'm going to say very bekitzer, but you'll be a typhus. This was one of the giluyim of Torah Baal Shem Tov. I say giluyim because it's part of Torah, but he emphasized it. And for a lot of people, you can understand how difficult it was. By many people by the Klal Yisrael, the hierarchy of Klal Yisrael is absolute. There's Roshechem Shiftechem, and there's Chayte Veitzecha V'Shoyev Memacha. There's Talmidei Chachamim, Gaonim, great men, women, great people. And then there's the Wasserträger, just the Pashta Yidden. And that hierarchy, in many ways, by many, is very, very absolute. As it is. There's the Gadol and there's the Cotton. And from a certain perspective, there's a truth to it. There's a person who has certain chushim, who has certain geschroinus, who perhaps worked very, very hard, whatever it is. There's something called Kavod Talmidei Chachamim, there's something called Kavod HaTorah, etc. But then there's another inyan. This is not so easy for everybody to digest. As the Katz, und ich und Reb Zalman is the selbe Zach. Right? That the cat and the greatest are the same. Because for this, you need Ayin. Lo nitin lehonas boy. If all of Yiddishkeit is in the world of Metzias, so in Metzias there's a higher Metzias and a higher Metzias and a higher Metzias, and there's never real unity. There's an Akudah where there's complete oneness mamish, where the highest and the lowest are one Akudah mamish without any distinctions. When there's a Gilui of Moichin da Abba, then Atem Nitzavim Hayoim Kulchem Lefnei Hashem Elokeich. When the truth of Ein Sof comes out, there's no division, there's no hierarchy, there's no Maila and Mata. Maila is not closer than Mata. Fakert, Maila and Mata are Maamer Shavim. The Ohr is like Choshech, but Maila the Choshech is like Ohr. This is Megala, a new level of Achdus in the world, a new level of Achdus in the Jewish people. And that ultimately has to translate even into Moichin De'imah. Like he says, Yom Tov is Makabel from Shabbos, Mikra Kodesh. That even when there is a hierarchy, it's not an absolute. It's not an absolute hierarchy. You're be'etzem higher and I'm be'etzem lower. It's everybody is fulfilling their purpose in the scheme of creation. But it's not an absolute hierarchy. This person is important and this person is insignificant. In other words, Moichin De'imah has to take from Moichin Da'abba. In Avodah, what is this in a person's Avodah? There's two paths in Avodas Hashem. One is a path of growth, which is critical. That's the path of Simcha. And one is the path of Oynik, Shabbos, which is not the path of growth, it's the path of embracing the reality right here and right now. And this is what we spoke about a few years ago when the Shlomo says, what am I supposed to do with this Maamer practically? Here is the two Nekudas in Avodah. The Mittler Rebbe, the son of the Baal Tanya, wrote a Hanocha also of this Maamer, and he gives an example of Neshama and Guf. Moededik example. He says, when you speak about the soul and the body, the soul is much higher than the body. Soul is Ruchnius, the Guf is Gashmius. That's all in Moichin De'imah. In Moichin Da'abba, Maila and Mata are Shavim. So the Ruchnius and the Gashmius become exactly the same. You have an Akudah in Avodas Hashem where a person is demanded to work on themselves and to go higher and to refine themselves and to go deeper. And that's critical, that's vital. That's called Alul and Ila and Ila and Ila and Ila and Ila, Yesh me, Yesh me, Yesh me, Yesh. The child coming back to the parents, as we spoke before. That's one Nekudah. There's another Nekudah in Avodas Hashem. And that is, in the Gilui of Moichin Da'abba, the Keli for it is Bittel. The Bittel of Asaga, the Bittel of Metzias. And B'meila mitzad that, I could be in the highest place, and I could be in the lowest place. And the highest place is identical with the lowest place, because Memonavshach. Mitzad Metzias, none of them are connected. And Mitzad Bittel, everybody is connected. So in every situation, wherever a person is in life, if they open themselves up to this state, right now, right here, you have a relationship with the full truth. And there's no part of you that's excluded. You can't say, I'm too dirty. He's an Edel Yid. Last year I was Oizgehedelt. Last Gilgul I was Oizgehedelt. If I work on myself for 5 years, maybe I'll be there. That's all the language of Moichin De'imah, which is good language. In the language of Moichin Da'abba, you say, in a year I'll be Edel. And no. In the language of Moichin Da'abba, right now, right here, Kachashecha ka'oira. The greatest Ohr is like the greatest Choshech. And therefore the greatest Choshech is not any further than the greatest Ohr. So in my present reality right now, in my body, in my physicality, in my life right here today, with all my stuff, Alam Shagas. And Baruch Hashem, we have enough to go around. Even in this room, never mind in the whole world. Right? With Alam Shagas, with all my stuff. If I were to ask you now, spill the beans, all Alam Shagas and Aros, with everything. In this Pchina, Kachashecha Kaira. You say, if I would be Ohr, if my life would be full of Lichtigkeit, full of Edelkeit. No, you're not typhus. In the real MS of Moichin the Abba, Kachashecha Kaira, what's that Kachashecha? Like Choshech, like Ohr, the Ohr is also like Choshech. The Ohr is not going to bring you closer. The Ohr is going to bring you closer to Yeshes, not to Bittel. Good Yeshes, but Yeshes. The Ohr will bring you closer, you'll feel better about yourself. Ooh, ich bin das, ich bin das, ich bin das. So that's Gan Eden. So you'll be in Gan Eden. So that's Gan Eden. Gan Eden is, Gan Eden. So it's not feeling Gan Eden alien. I'm using the word Yeshes. I don't mean Yeshes I'm talking here even Yeshes of Gan Eden. We're talking Edela Yeshes. A große Madrege. The größte Madreges. The größte Madreges. The Rebbe says in the Torah, Gasus HaRuach. Says, what's Gasus HaRuach? So the Welt teaches arrogance. Gasus, a grubber mensch, you're arrogant. Hedonistic, like Norse, a Balkaiva. He teaches Gasus HaRuach, that the Ruchnius is gas. The Ruchnius is gas. The spirituality is coarse. It's grub. It's Ruchnius, but it's gas, it's grub. It's missing Edelkeit. Right? In a very, very deep way, Gasus HaRuach could be the greatest Ruchnius, but it's coarse. Why? Because at its core is Metzias. Hana. The Chisaron there is not that it's not Edel enough. The Chisaron is that it's very Metzias is the Gasus. It's Ruchnius, but it's Gasus. So the Chiddush of Moichin the Abba, that's the Herrn Avodah Sa'adam is. A person sometimes in a matzav, you look at yourself and you feel lowly and you feel dark and you feel uninspired and you feel bored with yourself and you feel empty. You feel like a shtik choshech. I can't describe it better. You're a piece of darkness. There's nothing there. What's darkness? Darkness is devoid of light. There's no light. There's no hergish. There's no tam. Nothing. So you look in the mirror and all you see is darkness. Zog the Alter Rebbe, what you're seeing is a black hole. In the black hole, you have the deepest light. You just have to know how to look at it. What you're seeing is a black hole. Now you're open to Ayin. Now, Taka, that you're not stuck in your own Ohr. So now you can touch the Pchina where Choshech and Ohr are the same, because Ohr is also like Choshech. And in this Nekud, it's not like tomorrow I'll have Ohr and therefore I'll be better. In this Nekud of Ein Sof, right now, right here, is everything. You have the reality. And that's the real shayrish of what we speak many times. B'chol ha'mokim asher ta'omed alav admas kodesh. The Degel Machen Ephraim says, Baal Shem Tov, Baal Shem Tov's Einikel, wherever you stand is holy. What's Pshat Admas Kodesh? Wherever you stand. You say, but you know where I am now? I'm full of all this garbage. Oh, so you're full of garbage, so what? So you're full of garbage. The Katz, Unduz, there's Al Bazach. And if you'd be full of light, Legabit, this is also garbage. Elamai, there's a truth of Ein Sof. That truth is here right now. And you could connect to it. Because he wants to, and you could align yourself with it. This is where real healing, this is a whole different dimension of healing. So this Nekuda, the Balatanya is Kedarka, he's emphasizing, he's elaborating. This Nekuda that the Baal Shem Tov was masbir from Al Pi Yesodus HaKabbalah, that Legabed Moichin the Abba, the Maila and the Mata are Maamer Shovim. It's not Pshat, we also give chshivas to Pashat Yidden. In other words, we like you. We're nice people. We're not uptight, obnoxious people with superiority complexes. We do chesed also. That's not the word. That everybody had. Nobody has a hard time with that. We're nice people. We're a nice nation. Yeah? That's not the word. That everybody would have been Michael, the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov said something much, much more. Much, much more. That the Maila and the Matas, there's all bezach. It's a Shavah Mamish. It's Taka Shavah. It's a whole different Indian. Ooh, this they wouldn't forgive him so fast for. This they wouldn't forgive him so fast. There was a vikuach in Minsk, a debate in Minsk, in Tovkuf Mem Beis Mem Gimel.
Do you say that?
Yeah, it's not, but that's what I said. It's not the Baal Shem Tov's a Chiddush. It's Yiddishkeit. Chassidus didn't create a new Judaism, chas v'shalom. It emphasized, it elaborated. Everything in Teres Chassidus you'll find in Gemara and Chazal and Tanakh. The question is if it's emphasized. It's not a new Torah, it's not a new Yiddishkeit. But it's emphasized, it's brought out. It's not, I'm not going to go into it right now, but it's really one of the Yesodis of the Arizal's Chiddush and the Inyan of Tzimtzum. The Ramak, till the Arizal, the language with Hashem was always a language of Ilah v'Olo. That's the language. The first one who changed the language from Ilah v'Olo to Yesh Ayin Mamish, Yesh Ayin I don't mean in terms of, like the Ramban says, Hashem created the world, Yesh Ayin in terms of Ruchnius, that the world was created through Tzimtzum, which means through a quantum leap, not through development, was the Arizal. There's an expression in Chassidus, Ramak Zal lo yodam inyan ha-tzimtzum. Reb Moshe Cordovero didn't explore tzimtzum. You have Ramazim for it everywhere. You have it in Medrash and you have it in Zohar, but I'm talking about Harchava. What's the chiluk? In Il... That's all good, that's all good. Ganz losen. Now, this is very profound. What's the difference of Ilah v'Olol and Tzimtzum? This is the difference. Ilah v'Olol, yeah, ultimately, the big Ilah is up there, right? It's 55 billion, not million, billion light years away, right? We're all pretty far from it, yeah? But when you go on a plane, yeah, and you go, I don't know, 60,000 miles up, you're a little closer. You're a little closer than me. Yeah, I'm sitting in the dumps, and the guy who goes into the dumps is a little further than me because I'm on top. You're right. We're not stupid. We understand that it's further and further and further. So even in the greatest Eidel Yidden, there was this understanding, this closer and closer and closer and closer. B'shas Teres HaRizal and Teres HaChassidus were Megala that Ilah v'Olo is only a very relative perspective. But there's a whole other perspective, and that's Ayin and Yesh. Here, the highest Yesh and the lowest Yesh are equally remote. So this is not pshat that the guy who's in the garbage should look at an edel person and say, oh, you're also a piece of garbage. Then he's not connecting to the Ein Sof. Then he's tamash tiktsoya. That's not what he's talking about. You understand? He's talking about there's an akud in the ultimate edelkeit of Yiddishkeit. The moment you're feeling greater, you're not in that realm anymore. In the ultimate edelkeit of Yiddishkeit, in the ultimate nekudas ha'emes, the gadol shebegdolim and the katan shebektanim are mamash one. That's the word.
Because philosophies, are they still stuck in the evil?
Yes. Philosophy is always ilah v'Olo.
They already understand that.
Yeah.
No development.
Yeah. Philosophy stops by ilah v'Olo. You go to the Big Bang, and you have the prebiotic soup, and the question is, what's before? So there has to be something before. In Kabbalah, you also had that. Reb Shalom Ber, yo.
That what he showed, Shem Tov and the Tillim.
Yeah.
You could touch the same place.
Yeah.
That's what they couldn't take also.
Regardless of religion.
And it's not, but now we have to understand it correctly. The Baal Shem Tov didn't mean chas v'shalom to minimize the kavod of Torah, even though he was accused of that. Not at all. There's no place you're going to have describe the greatness of learning and living in learning, like in the Likutei Torah from the Balatanya, who used to call the Baal Shem Tov the Zayda. There's not a sefer in the world, even Nefesh HaChayim, that comes close to describing the value of Talmud Torah in Tanya and Likutei Torah and his Shulchan Aruch Hilchos Talmud Torah. Hafla v'fela. What the Baal Shem Tov was trying to be megala is Eiraisa mechachma nafkas. That in the etzem ha-Torah, in the nekuda of Torah, the way it's mushish and ein soif, the moment you're feeling superior, you're not toifus etzem ha-Torah. He was picking up Torah, he wasn't minimizing Torah. Real Torah is rooted in a place of complete oneness. I remember I once heard from the Lubavitch Rebbe of Fabrein, and he said, Asedon 9 Moshe Rabbeinus in Shul, kamen sagen Baruch. So kommt rein ein Balagola, kamen sagen Kedusha. You have 9 Moshe Rabbeinus in a Shul, 9 Moshes. Avraham, mit Yitzchak, mit Yaakov, mit Moshe, yeah? Mit David HaMelech, mit Rabbi Akiva, mit Bechina Mezake, mit Rashi, mit der Rabbi, mit der Arizal, mit der Bes Yosef, ganz gitte Jiden. Ganz feine, ehrliche Jiden, yeah? 9 people. They can't bring in Kedusha in the world. They can't say Nagdishach. They can't say Kesser. They can't even say Nekadesh. Nicht kein Baruch, garnished. Nicht garnished. They could do a lot of things. Comes in on ein Schlepper. A Schlepper. He's coming, huh? Yeah, Wasserträger, a Balagola, yeah. Comes in, he's wearing, his feet are dirty because his horse fell into the ditch. Yeah? And they look at, oh! Now we could say a Baruch Hu, a Kaddish, a Kedusha. Huh? Kodesh? It's a word, yeah, it's a word. It's a word. And this is one of the great ideas that Chassidus taught. That's it. Uvgahei ben Yidden. There was no such a thing. A Yid looks, I'm a Balagola. The problem was there was such a hierarchy. You have here is the Rav of the city, Agon, and here's a Pashta Balagola. And you have to understand, in Eastern Europe, they couldn't afford thousands and thousands of people in Koilel to sit in Koilel for 20, 30. Everybody went to work. Besides 3-4 people, everybody went to work. And even those 3-4 people, often their wives had to have a store. Right? So the Baal Shem Tov and his Talmidim, they lifted up Klal Yisrael. But so some people who are not Teufels the Ayin think Baal Shem Tov was a nice person. So he was nice to Pashat Yidden. He was nice. He said a good Shabbos to everybody. He didn't look down at people. He wasn't an egomaniac. Look down. I can't look at you. He's a Yid who's dealing with behemoths all day. He gave him a hug and he said, "Was machst du?" and say a kapitel tillim and God loves you. That's how most people, when they describe Chassidus, that's how they describe it. Baal Shem Tov was in Yiddish a Volksmensch. You know what a Volksmensch is? A people's person. He just liked people. Not really a chavman. He was an orphan. Kretschmer, yeah, he liked simple Jews, and you're eating a lafa, and he would say, yeah, you could serve Hashem with lafas, and with falafel, and with sauerkraut, and with mustard. This is the furthest truth. It's not what he said. The Baal Shem Tov was from the greatest Goinim of Jewish history. Baal Shem Tov was Megala, the oimek of Yiddishkeit. He was Megala, the oimek of Yiddishkeit. B'meila, mitzad that oimek of Yiddishkeit, it is a nekuda with a simple Jew who speaks to God directly, connects to everything. And the person who may have a much better mind and may be in a completely different state, with his sense of superiority complex, is completely remote from that truth. The Baal Shem Tov once said, the pshittis von a ish pashet is ein zach mit the pshittis von atzmos. The simplicity of a simple Jew is one thing with the simplicity of God's core. Pshittis ha'atzmos. Atzmos is pashet, because it's not ila, it's not maila, it's pashet. So the pshittis von a ish pashet is ein zach mit the pshittis von atzmos. Ich weiß nicht, ob der Wort Yeshekayach und der Schir haben ein Scheiches eine mit der anderen, aber Kavanos Churitzuya. Okay, a Brache will ich nehmen. Befragt von Koyanim. Yeah, Yasher Koyach. The Koyach should be Yasher. You understood?
Plumber, they're the cats. Also true.
Der heißt der Hillel's Wort. Legabe dem Reben. Ich bin der Katz mit dem Psalm. Das ist ein Chassid. Ein Chassid. Das ist verstanden, der Schir. Chassidus. Kachashecha ka'oira. The hest. Choshech is, oir is like choshech.
You know, Mr. Mel,
This truth is always true and it's true for everybody.
Vada.
But who could appreciate it more? Is the person that is the cat or the person that's alive? Right?
Sometimes the cat can appreciate it more. Not with seichel, but with bittul.
In his core, he could appreciate it more.
It's much easier for him to do with
It's
This is very small.
No, it's true for everybody, but where...
when it's a good word what you're saying. I once heard from the Rebbe, he said, this is Shine Rabba, Moire de Kavart. From the 4 minim, the esrog, the lulav, the hadas, and the arava, right? It says the esrog has a taste and aroma. And the arava got nothing. No taste and no smell. So yet her Shine Rabba, the main focus is on the arava. Suddenly the arava, you take out the arava, you don't take it out, you take an arava and the shyness. It was called Yoim Arava in the Beis HaMikdash. They would go around the bima 7 times with the arava. So he said, Amoire de Kavart, Maamer Shahafla de Kavart. This vart, the esrig has beautiful qualities. The hadas, great smell. Lulav, dates, taste. Right? That's the first 3. The esrig, the lulav, and the arava has nothing. They all come together, sukkahs, the achtas. Why are they being united? Because they're all the same. They're all part of God. But the esrig and the hadas and the lulav, they kennen sich einreden. They think that they were chosen because of their milas. That's what they think. The arava never makes that mistake. So by the arava, what's felt? The bittul, the oneness, the ayin. That comes out of Shine Rabba.
Hierarchy.
That's what I heard from the Rebbe. Then I read a sefer. I saw a vart, somebody else, from a different school of thought. And he said, why do we take the Rav Shine Rabba? He says, for 7 days, you took the Amoritz and you put him together with the Talmud Chacham. He might think that he's like the Talmud Chacham. So on a Shine Rabba, you take him and you shmeiss him. And you tell him, perspective, man. And that's why he said, we say, Laman das kol amei ha'oretz, ki Hashem Elokim einoid. Okay? Here you have 2 streams of how do I appreciate Yiddishkeit. Al Pichsidis, the reason you take that Rav is because by the Rav, by him could be felt the true Ayin, the true Achdus with Ein Sof. Why? Because the esrig and the lulav and the hadas could deceive themselves that it's because of their own ruchni, their own ego. The Rav never makes that mistake. So in that sense, the cat is sometimes superior. Not because he's superior, because he doesn't think he's superior. He never thinks he was chosen because of yichus, because of his good looks, because of his personality. He knows that he was chosen because God chose him. But the esrig and the hadas and the lulav, they could think I was chosen because look at me. The Hesebaran, Shemen Zayis Zoch, pure oil. Pure oil.
It's interesting how the rava and the matzah both symbolize a similar thing, bittul, and yet we take the rava and bang it down, and also the matzah we break.
Very nice. You're saying even bittul has to be broken. That's nice. You're saying even bittul has to be bittul.
Without the Rava, the Abba doesn't count. Without the Matzah, no patient.
Yeah.
It's essential.
The other way, light is like darkness. Darkness is like light, that's not the Chiddush. Legabi Hashem, yeah, darkness is also like light. He does it fine. He doesn't get in this spall, you're so low, I'll pick you up. I'm not afraid.
But let me stay down, because it's the same as light.
The Chiddush is light is like darkness. Oh, so that's what I was saying. Light, in other words, light is not any closer. B'meila, darkness is not further. That's the word. If light is not closer, darkness is not further. So wherever you are, you're one. Even the guf, the Mittel Rebbe says, even the guf, not only the neshama, is completely one. You don't have to, this friendship between Ruch,
I'm always there.
you're always there.
If I'm in a dark space, I'm still...
Even in the dark... Yeah. Lagabi the Nakuda of Ayin, when you look at blackness, you see a black hole. You don't see... You see the... You see, the infinity is there, yeah. It's not Mugder and Ohr. It didn't come into the Yeshus of Ohr. It's the source of the Ohr. And the same source of Ohr is the same source of Choshech. I was giving a mashal of black hole. What's black doesn't mean there's no light. Sometimes there's more light. You understand? You're calling it Choshech because mitzad the Gedorim of Ohr and Choshech, you're Choshech. Mitzad the Emes, it's not Choshech. You're not in a state of Choshech. The way Ohr became a Yesh, you're not Ohr, you're in a state of Choshech. You're very far from it. Yeah? But the way it's not a Yesh, the state of Ayin, so then the Choshech is not Choshech, just like the Ohr is not Ohr. Because the Ohr is not closer, the Choshech is not further. The darkness doesn't take you away further from it. You're as close. You don't understand? In the Welt of Bittel, Choshech is not Choshech. And the Ohr is not Ohr. They're exactly the same. It's not like if I would be Oizge'edelt, I would be able to be Teufusit. And now I can't. Why? You're making a mistake. You think God is a Yesh. It's a high Yesh. He's not a Yesh. It's Ayin. And mitzad Ayin, so kachashecha kaira. So even the highest Ohr is chashach. But wherever the person is, in the lowest mata, it's not in the lowest mata. The highest mile and the lowest mata are all shava. It's equally distant and therefore equally close. Verstehst? If you want to connect with that truth, you're right there. You don't have to, you're equally close because you're equally far.
But you're not even far, you Maamer shtit.
Yeah, so you're not far, yeah. If you define Elikus in terms of Ilah v'Allah, you're very far. Shloime, verstehst? Yeah, im Esek Shemayim Shamata.
Brought that in the Maamer. I think he brought this question. Had a plumber come to our house one time, many years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's still living. He lived in Monsey for Mr. Malak.
Yeah.
His hands were filthy dirty from working as a plumber. And he was like on the outside, he was just a very hard-working.
Yeah.
He sat, after he did the work, we sat down and had some tea with him. And my wife said afterwards, Chashav Yid. He was a Chashav Yid. He went through the Holocaust and they did experiments on him.
Was a twin.
Yeah, Mr. Malik. My wife said he's a Chashav Yid. She saw it, you know.
Nice.
This class is brought to you by theyeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.